I'm about to weld this aluminum rod inside this piston. I should probably explain why. You see, I just bought this 60-gallon air compressor off of Facebook Marketplace from 2 crackheads in a storage unit. And considering this thing is 220 means I didn't get to see it run first. If it had a cord, which it doesn't. Now, what I paid for this is what most people are advertising known blown up ones for, so I can't really complain. But, yeah, if you didn't guess it already, it's kind of blown up. Now, blown up is kind of a loose term, because I believe I can fix it, or at least make it last a little bit longer. Because it actually still did run and make pressure, it was just knocking like a motherfucker. Once I pulled the head off, I found that both pistons were still coming up, making good suction, or compression. However, one of them had a little bit of slop in it, meaning when I rotated the pulley, it would take a second before it actually started moving. Which I immediately thought it would be where the connecting rod meets the crankshaft, but all of those surfaces actually look perfect, which is good, and the bearings are nice. However, once I pulled the piston out, I found that it was the wrist pin hole that was fucked. As you can tell, it's a little ovalish now. Now what I believe caused this, if we look at the top of the piston here, you can see it is beat to shit. Which was caused by this little valve plate here that controls your in and out air, losing a rivet, which means the bottom piece fell into the cylinder. After beating around for so long, the old piston just got tired of it. So let me explain my idea. You're going to like this. If I put the wrist pin back in the piston, I don't know if I'm going to do this one-handed or not. Okay, hang on. You can now see the slop I was talking about. However, if we offset the wrist pin, the majority of that slop goes away. There is unfortunately still a little bit between the actual wrist pin and the rod. But the wrist pin is stuck in the piston, so no more slop there. Now I could just call this good and throw it back in, and hope it lasts a little bit longer and is quieter, but I don't want that to come out. See, here's the other piston and rod, which is healthy, and it has these black plastic caps on it that keep everything nice and contained. That's what it should feel like, absolutely no slop. So in theory, if I take this rod, turn it down, or maybe just turn a small part down, shove it in there, weld it around both sides, which on this side will also keep it centered, the wrist pin's never going anywhere. Is that excessive? Maybe. Do I just want to use my lathe and TIG welder for something? Also maybe. But is it about to happen? Definitely. And if this pisses you off, I'm sorry, but this rod and piston as a combo are already trash. And yes, I tried looking online, could not find a replacement anywhere. I can't actually find a rod, but no piston or wrist pin. And if you're pissed off enough, here's the numbers I've got for the compressor and all the info on the tank. If you can find me a new one, I'll put it in. But until then, it's either this or buy a new compressor, which is more than I paid for the entire assembly, so not doing that yet. I'm pretty confident this will work, for now at least. There's only one way to find out, so let's start building some shit. Alright, went ahead and finished machining the other one off camera because my setup is kind of dog shit and I really just want to get this done tonight. Nothing too special here. Kept the smaller diameter just a little bit oversized, so I should be able to press them into the wrist pin. And the bigger diameter will slide nicely into there and get welded all the way around. It's time to get all this shit cleaned up the best I can. I don't think I have any acetone, so hopefully brake clean's good enough. But don't worry, I'm going to burn it all off with a torch and preheat it at the same time. Might be a little excessive, but this whole fucking thing is a little excessive. But whatever, let's get this shit cleaned up. Alright, other than a preheat, she's all ready to weld up. Now is probably a good time to mention I've only ever welded aluminum once in my life, and it looked like this. So this should be fun. I'm actually proud of myself. I forethought a little bit and drilled these holes in there so that I could take this spare piece of aluminum, turn a little taper on it, and that will shove in there nicely, or at least it will on the bottom that's not mushroomed. Give it a couple taps. And now I have somewhere to ground. Well, here goes nothing, I guess. Well, the piston is finally cooled all the way down to room temperature. Do not judge these welds. Now in hindsight, I really should have just done one little tack or weld on the bottom of the skirt to each side. That would have held it in place just fine and not heated the fuck out of the entire thing, which, yes, you probably guessed, turned it into an oval. Now I did try blasting these sides of the skirt with a torch and put it in the vise right here to try to straighten it up a little bit, and it did actually help, but it's still very much so an oval. We got 2.745. It's hard to do one-handed, but 2.7. So yeah, about 50 thousandths of not a fucking circle. However, where the rings go, and there's a bunch of meat, it's actually still pretty circular. Down in the oil groove, there's about 5 thou of run out around the whole thing, which I think I can live with. Maybe. As far as the skirt goes, I have a lathe. I think you know where I'm headed with this. This was a bad idea. I guess I'll just clamp lightly. What am I gonna do? Fuck the piston up? And there's that 5 thou run out we saw earlier. But she's pretty centered up, so let's take some very, very light cuts. We're just about into the skirt. Looks like we're actually started hitting it right here on the edge. Holy porosity. Ignore that. Doing 2.5 thou cuts because I'm getting nervous. Once we're all the way gone up here, we should be good. We're cutting into about here, leaving plenty of width. Another 2.5 thou and see what it does. I think that just about has it. Let's see what we measure. Still just slightly tight. Just slightly. This is so ridiculous, but so cool. Here we go. Alright, I think I gotta call that. So our widest skirt diameter is sitting about 1 thou smaller than the other piston. So I think that's good. Unfortunately, we are sitting about 40 thou smaller on the skirt that actually matters. But towards the top, we're 10. So it's definitely not a perfect piston anymore, but I feel like that was already pretty obvious. Porosities for oil. All right, let's see if it fits. Well, she fits. Definitely a little on the loose side. That's what rings are for, right? I mean, I couldn't find a piston anyway, so if it destroys the cylinder, then I guess it is what it is. But I have confidence in this monstrosity. Let me clean the shavings out of it, and we can get this thing back together. Hooked up nice and sketchily again. Guess that means it's the moment of truth. I'm actually fucking terrified. I have like 2 nights in this now, so this better work. And it's either gonna work or it's gonna like self-implode and I'm gonna be really pissed. Everything looks good, sounds good, sounds like an air compressor. Guess we'll see. Everybody cross your fingers for me. Well, it didn't self-implode. Definitely still a little noisy, but it is way better than it was before. I'd say it sounds about 10 or 15 thou of wrist pin play, which is what it has. But it used to sound about like a 1/16 of fucking slappy. So it's way better. Let's just hope it holds itself together for at least a couple months. Now, as far as it actually building pressure, I have a giant hole over here that I need to put like a regulator or something in. And then I'm pretty sure this line needs a little bit of work. It's kind of loose up here. But hey, it didn't self-implode yet. Well, it's a few days later, and all of the effort I put into this was kind of a waste of time, because I got double fucked. You see, this tank here has a massive hole in the bottom. Or, well, it's massive now because I cut it out with a plasma torch. But still, there was a hole, so it makes it junk. I think I'm gonna try to sell it as, like, make it a grill or something. Try to sell the motor for a little bit, and then hopefully I can find another 60 or maybe 80 gallon compressor with a blown up pump. And then I will put this one on it. It's the only way I can see to not completely lose my ass here. Yeah, I'm pretty pissed off, mainly at myself, but also just in general. Not that I'm super surprised, but what are you gonna do? So if you like this video, you should like this video. Please don't let this define me or what I'm trying to do in my little shop here or my skills. If you're new here, I have this 1985 Nissan 720 with an LS in it, with a full roll cage and custom suspension and all kinds of shit I built for it. And I promise my ethics when it comes to safety and performance are way better than what I showed in this video. But it was kind of cool to get to use my new bandsaw and TIG welder and lathe and all my nice new stuff to take a problem and solve it and make something. So if you want to see more of that in the proper fashion, not what I did over here, then make sure you give me a follow so you don't miss anything I do.